Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Fargo. Season 3, Episode 8. It's called Who Rules the Land of Denial. Full spoilers for episode. I just realised as I said that. It almost sounds like that old joke, river's not just, denial's not just a river in Egypt.
Yeah,
It's just because the
yeah,
way that sentence is phrased, Who Rules the Land of Denial, it made me think of
yeah.
Egypt.
It took me a second as well to work out which one you'd said.
Yeah, full spoilers for the episode as always. It's already turned into a shambles. This was a fantastic episode.
Oh, it was best of the season.
Absolutely. I actually thought it was going to be Nikki and Mr. Wrench all the way through. For a good,
I did for a while. Yeah,
yeah, it felt that way for a good bit. But we picked right up. We see them set up their little blockade and enact a little plan, put on their masks. The two regulars plus DJ Quall's character. No idea what he's called. Doesn't matter
who
now.
cares?
Yeah, he's dead. He dies in a glorious fashion, though.
Oh, it's fantastic.
But no, so they run off, and it's like we're like, okay, how does Mister? Because we sort of had the feeling last time, okay, Mr. Wrench probably is why she gets out of this in some way, but not weren't sure how, obviously. But we see,
I love that we see a lot of it in the van from his perspective because you got like no sound.
yeah, because she was still knocked out, and while she was
Yeah,
knocked out, and it was him. It was just this sort of hum noise as opposed to
yeah,
anything else while they're cutting through things, and also this is where like the tension really ramped up because I feel like the first half of this episode, this entire chase, starting in the van or the bus with them like stabbing the guards, like because the guards at the front of the bus try to like fight back, and like you can just sort of
yeah,
they don't focus on it, but you see them getting stabbed in the background, kind of thing, and you just feel this incoming dread, and he realizes they're chained together, so they can break the thing out of the seat so they can get away, but they have to stay chained together, of course, and there's that great moment where DJ Quall's character in the pig mask comes up and he tries to attack him, and Mr. Wrench, of course, can take care of himself and starts proper fighting back. And it feels like, oh, right, we've got a gun on the right side here. Finally,
yeah, yeah,
someone can fight back because it feels like all season these characters with Varga have just been like they just walk into a room and do what they want, and no one can do anything about it.
yeah. I want to say I was also noticing, continuing the theme of stories, it was almost very fairy tale-esque. You know, when they walk into the clearing and there's just an axe in the middle.
Oh yeah,
Just
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
it was very like a fairy tale.
All that stuff of them going through the woods and being chased was great stuff. Nikki tries to communicate with him and she realizes he's deaf and tries to like they write in the snow and stuff like that, and she's just like, yeah, sorry, they're after me.
Yeah.
Not much I can do about it. But even the fact that the kid and the dad who are out hunting, and even just the fact that we see like them in their masks, sort of like watching from afar with the binoculars, and he's got the
Yeah,
wolf
and then,
mask up.
and then the shot just comes.
Yeah. And you're like, oh damn, did they kill it? Because they killed a couple for sure. We see the couple who pass in the car. We actually
Yeah,
see, we know for a fact that they're dead. Whereas they could have just stole the crossbows from the others, but because technically they never saw them do a crime, so they might not have felt the need to kill them, but
but they probably did anyway.
they probably did, knowing now.
Just
But
easier, isn't it?
all that, and then when they get to that bit with the little stump with the axe, and they're hiding because we see the cross, the bolt comes out and hits him. They go down, they hide, then they try and run, and she gets hit in the leg. At one point, I never thought I'd think of DJ Qualls as threatening, but when he runs out of the woods and just like slashes him in the back, and then
Yeah,
keeps running back into the darkness, like that was proper creepy, intense. The whole thing was really well
absolutely.
done. They felt trapped, and it wasn't until they happened to like get him and stab him, and it felt like, and it was when they had him down, and Wrench was like just sort of continually stabbing him with the bolt, and Nikki was just sort of trying to kick him in the head, like she just kept kicking at him, and it was like, yeah, finally fight back,
Yeah.
beat one of them for a change, and
And then they start choking him with the chain.
then they just drag the chain right through his neck so that his head falls off. And I loved it by the end of this scene because it's snow. Like all the red blood is just like covered this big section of snow. It stands out next to it. It's just everything about because there was so little dialogue, because it was just Nikki who was speaking. Because
Yeah.
even the villains, they don't say a lot to each other. They're silent the whole time. It was very, very just a visual storytelling, almost like a storybook. If you're going back to the fairy tale analogy.
I I love the moment where he finally sees where the shot's coming from and just chucks the axe,
And
and you
yeah,
hear the sound.
you hear the sound, like he's good enough that he probably hit something. He's good enough.
Yeah.
We know he can take care of himself. And then obviously later on they walk into the woods and you just see the ear, and it's like, oh dear.
Yeah, but not a bad shot. It was pretty close,
Yeah,
considering you
yeah,
couldn't see him.
yeah. Not bad at all. And they eventually, obviously, by this point, they're both limping. They're bloody, and they come across a bowling alley. And you're like, all right, okay, so maybe they can phone for who they're going to phone. I don't know. Like I was just sort of in my head, like, okay,
Yeah,
civilization
yeah,
of some kind.
yeah, exactly. Safety.
Yeah.
Even the police. I think she'd rather go back to jail.
Oh yeah, because I think at this point, there's obviously someone's after us. Like, yeah, this is how serious these guys are. They clearly don't want me to tell you something, so therefore, I must have something beyond
Yeah,
just
yeah.
me
That
being the killer.
protective custody may be safer.
Yeah, but they go in, and it's got that nice slow paced thing that I love, where it lets the entire walk of her up to the bar. Like she sits him down, she sort of tries to tidy her hair a bit so she doesn't look as suspicious. But
Tucks the chain into
yeah,
the
although it's dangling immediately almost as soon as she sits down, and
yeah.
like she's still covered in blood. Like she's clearly had a
I
rough day.
love how the bartender doesn't mention it.
Oh yeah, it doesn't mention that. He doesn't mention Yuri either when he comes in,
I
and
know,
he's
and
even worse.
He just asked for napkins
I
to
know.
put on his bloody ear stump.
But of course, there's some stuff we can because obviously she sits down, and it doesn't. The scene doesn't play like there's going to be someone sitting next to her, right? So it's not like you're thinking, oh, who's next to her the whole time. But then it goes to the final shot where it starts to like, just pull back a little bit and pan over to reveal someone. And as it was doing, I'm like, oh, they're going to reveal someone next to her as if it's someone important. But who could it be? Like I was trying to think, who could it possibly be that would mean something that would be relevant right now? And then Leland Palmer's just sitting there.
Yeah.
Ray Wise, and obviously we've seen him in episode 3 with Gloria, which is notable because it's the first time that anything remotely from that episode has connected to
Yeah, and
anything
obviously
else.
that was out in LA, so there's no reason for him to be over here.
I mean, from a logic point of view, he did seem like he flies a lot, so
Yeah,
sure.
I'm
That
telling you
said,
now, he's God.
I don't think he's. I'm thinking Angel. I'm thinking
Honestly, my first thought was the devil, but that's just because I've seen him play the devil in Reaper. So I just leapt to that, and he does Sinister so well.
he is an agent for the White Lodge.
Yeah.
He he is because his whole thing is that he tries to make her feel better by saying like souls move on, and he brings out the kitten, which by the way the kitten's very similar to my cat Firefly when he was a kitten, and he was snuggling into me as the kitten came out, and I couldn't help but start clapping him, just like oh,
No, the reason I think God specifically is because he speaks in Hebrew a lot, which is obviously
Okay, right.
the language of the Bible.
Yeah, okay, but did Angel not still do that?
They might.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I just didn't jump to the highest of high powers. I was just thinking one of kind of
No,
thing.
that's
But
fair.
whatever. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't think we're going to find out.
We're on the
Yeah.
same path, though, aren't we? We're like this is a higher power of some sort.
I don't think they're going to definitively answer. Like, I mean, we're saying Angel because it's the closest thing we can sort of, just wrap it in a
Yeah.
bow and say this is what it is. But I mean, really, it's kind of vague in that sense, where it's just he is helping because the fact that he gives her a car and she doesn't even question it. And cause it's this one point where he talks about Mr. Wrench. He's like, oh, because, and this is why I'm thinking one of rather than the god, because he says, oh, I convinced the others that he was on a better path.
Hmm.
And it was almost to the point where the way he was talking, it felt like, oh, are they already in some sort of weird purgatory here? And this is like, no, you're getting let to go back out. I'm giving you the car because, and he gives her that thing to say. It's like, oh, you just have to do me one thing in return. Make sure you deliver a message. And he gives her that little passage about speaking to the wicked. And I don't remember the whole thing, but part of it was about like building a nest up in the stars. Thinking you're greater than you are and
Yeah.
seeing yourself as powerful. And I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait until she looks Varga in the face and says those lines.
Yeah,
because-
it's fantastic.
Because as they were being chased, and there was that point where she gets shot in the leg and Wrench gets slashed in the back. I'm like, oh my god, not just like you have to give me some hope here. Like the good characters have to have a chance of victory, and obviously then it turned around, and it felt like this was a mission statement. This was like, no, here's your to go all Blues Brothers. Here's your mission from God. You have to take down this asshole. This is your job. And obviously, the whole idea that this is some sort of weird purgatory, this sort of weird gate. Even, I mean, I don't know if I think the bowling alley physically is there, but
Yeah, I'd say it is, but it is definitely something else as well.
I don't know if the bowling alley is necessarily something else. I think it's just being used by the entity, whoever Ray Wise is.
Maybe. I think it's just the idea that the bartender doesn't even react to Yuri coming in, ear missing, blood everywhere.
No, that's
makes me
fair.
think that something's off about the whole place.
Actually, honestly, for me, that just because there was other workers in the background as well. I just kind of took it as whatever Ray Wise was influencing around them meant that it wouldn't cause a fuss.
It's
Like
possible, yeah.
it felt more like just no, this is just a random bowling alley, but he's using it right now as this the gates, this bridge,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But yeah, Yuri comes in, and obviously it's a very different conversation because one of the things that he talked to Nikki about was that this massacre that happened with the Russians way back when, and he talks about how some like souls will often move on because he obviously calls the cat Ray, implies that the things, and to the point where at the end when she's leaving and she gives the cat back, she says, whenever game he likes is, whatever team he likes is playing a game, put a bowl of beer out and let him watch.
Yeah.
Where she's like believing, and I think that's just a sort of a testament to what she's went through at this point, that
Yeah.
she's willing to just believe what he's saying to her, like she feels it.
I do think, obviously, because the point of the story was the souls were trapped until this other person, came along and it was like, no, bury me here, I will like shepherd them. And when as soon as he says it's Ray, and then he says, oh, the souls move on, he says then immediately after he says, but some don't, some are stuck. I feel like they were saying that this isn't Ray yet. Ray's stuck until she does what she has to do, and then Ray will be able to move on and become, this cat, whatever.
No, I can see that, and I think it's a very different conversation, of course, with Yuri when he comes in, because he basically shows the victims of this massacre, because we hear that he's got the lineage that goes back to the people who did this, and that ties into the opening scene of the season as well, with the sort of the interrogation. With presumably maybe this guy hit Yuri's father or something like that. Given the time period, maybe
No, it could be.
maybe grandfather. I'd have to sit down and think
It was
about
it was it was 80s, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, so father then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, he shows him, we get this black and white shot, and it's funny. Obviously, I'm thinking of David Lynch in Twin Peaks because Ray Wise is there, but this did actually feel like the most sort of Lynchy, like this show's gotten.
I know what you mean.
Where it just cut to this black and white image of like this village of people who were all massacred, and
Obviously this woman at the forefront, who I assume was Helga that they were talking about.
So you presume that this is his end, like that he's not getting to go back, like this is the end of his road. It feels like that.
It does.
And just the idea that this is your sins, and like wherever he's going now, this is kind of part of what he's paying for.
Yeah.
Because he is truly wicked, as it were. Mimo, of course, fortunately pissed off at some point because he had stuff to go do, and he never had to interact with all this.
Lucky him.
Yeah, sly little bugger. But so Nikki and Mr. Wrench get in the little green car and they go off, and we don't see them for the rest of the episode. Although I would argue we feel the effect of Nikki for the rest of the episode.
I would agree with that.
I can't imagine who else is making Emmett's life miserable.
Unless it's Ray Wise.
Unless that I mean, sure, they kind of have a couple of lines where, like, you were here the whole time, like implying that, oh, it's something supernatural. I do think it's Nikki. I think because we have a 3-month time gap. We have one scene where Sai comes over to speak to Emmett, and he's not allowed. Like Varga and Mimo basically get in the way, and they try and force feed him. He doesn't accept it, and they make him drink the
Christmas
tea.
dinner.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's Christmas dinner. Yeah, there's a little scene as well with Gloria with her kid, and he gets socks for Christmas, and he's suitably disappointed, as you would be.
I mean, to be fair, who hasn't experienced that exact moment every Christmas? Socks. Cool.
Not every Christmas.
I don't know. I don't think I've gone a Christmas in my life without getting at least a pair of socks off someone.
It's miserable. It's awful.
Every year.
But so he basically gets poisoned. It's very clear he's getting poisoned as well. Like the way Varga's in close, oh no, have another drink. You'll find it goes down smoother as he goes.
Yeah, and it proper does a close up as he drinks it.
Yeah, the camera work and the way he's acting just tells you that there's something fishy going on. And of course, he gets back to the office and he immediately gets sick. And it does a really smart. Because the funny thing is I didn't know how big the time gap was until we see the whiteboard and we see that it's March. Just it's 3 months later. You can sort of tell because we knew it was Christmas. But like this could have been years. Like because it fades to him having a full beard in the hospital bed, lying in a coma, and like. I mean, if we just skipped ahead like 2 years or something, it was only 3 months, and I can buy it. Like some facial hair grows that quick, that's whatever. But at the same time, like it could have been longer. Like
it could have been, Because you would just assume at some point they would trim it.
Yeah, they wouldn't let it go to obscene lengths. They'd keep it to a reasonable leash.
Yeah, yeah. No point in keeping it completely clean shaven. That's just too much effort. But
Yeah.
a reasonable length.
But no, and we see that Emmett's, because Emmett of course has that moment where Si looks up at the window and he sees that they were lying. He's not resting. He is up, and he just looks up through the window and walks back. But you can see there's some guilt in his face at the hospital. He comes to visit him, and we see that Gloria and Winnie are still after him. It's like, oh, this is just a lunch hour, and they're basically like, they're doing that thing where they're just like talking about whatever they're wanting to talk about in front of him and saying, oh, this is funny, isn't it? Oh yeah, that's funny finding you here. But Emmett goes outside, and where his car was, it's the car that Ray had, the one that he got in the will.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to the office. He obviously is freaking out a little bit. He goes into his office, and all of his photos and paintings in the office have all been replaced with an image of the stamp.
So I loved here as well when I noticed when it comes back around and he's talking to the receptionist. All the pictures outside in the rest of the building in the office as well. It's not just his office
really?
that's changed. It's all of them. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice that because it wasn't until I went in. And obviously, at this point, I'm like, all right, Nikki's had 3 months to plan. This is like,
Yeah.
plans are in motion here. She is rubbing this in. She's making him feel the guilt.
And to be fair, he contemplates it.
Yeah.
He goes, no, this could be her. I mean, he thinks Ray's there as well for some reason, but
Yeah, he's having sort of like a spiritual moment where he thinks his brother's back from the dead to haunt him.
but he does say, she was never found. It could be her.
And he wakes up, later in the house, and he wakes up with a fake mustache glued to his face, and he has to rip it off. Which is when Varga and everyone starts taking it a bit more seriously. It's like, oh, you were here the whole time, and he gives him this whole speech about honor. And
To be fair, he says that to Mimo. It's like, you were here. And he's like, yeah, but he was just dancing to the ballet music.
well, he was, but I get the impression with Mimo it doesn't really matter that he's always listening to music. It's almost like he's got more intention in him.
Yeah. I think the point was he was at the front door.
Yeah. Anyone could have climbed out the window, theoretically. But no, so Varga gives him one of his big speeches, as he's been known to do this season. Talks about the last Japanese soldier who didn't agree with the defeat, and was an honourable soldier until the 70s when he finally went down, kind of thing. And it's all about honour and all the rest of it. But he's just kind of spinning his web as he normally does, essentially, trying to make his point in a really, really sort of bleak or vague way. But he gives Emmett these pills, and Emmett falls asleep. But then he wakes up in the bed, and we see that the pills are in his hand. He's actually for the first time done something sort of to be defiant with Varga, where he's kind of flipped it and he's been sly. And we see, of course, Gloria at the police station. We see that she's a deputy now. There's more people at the station. It's went along a bit. The transition's happened, and she signs her divorce papers. She finally lets that happen, and she's about to go home to do whatever she's doing. And we ended the episode with Emmett walking in and saying, "I'm Emmett Stussy. I want to confess." Boom, cut.
Yeah. The only question is, what exactly is he confessing to?
Oh, definitely Ray. But I honestly, I think once he's confessing, I think he'll.
Do you think he'll come out with all of it?
I think he will. I think it's because I think obviously Varga in a lot of ways led because I think he obviously suspects Sai. Like I think he's not an idiot.
Yeah.
Because Varga even has that moment where he says Sai's already dead. He's like, what, Sai? He's like, yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is going to hit him coming clean. And obviously we've got 2 episodes left. I think it sets up the final hunt where Gloria knows that Varga's the villain. We have Nikki presumably also interested in coming after Varga in some way.
And we know Varga still presumably has nothing on Gloria because technology.
And I imagine that it seems like Nikki and Wrench have bonded. Maybe he's still with her, helping her out.
I hope he is. I mean, I'd get it if they were just wanted him there for that one bit and then he goes off and does his own thing again. But I do hope he's around because that'll be cool.
Well, yeah, I can see him being around because someone needs to fight Mimo as she takes on Varga.
That is true. But then you do already you say that we have got Gloria and Nikki as well.
That's very true. The reason why I think they might, because I like the idea that Wrench, because he always had was it his brother in season 1?
Yeah,
he always had with him. I think he likes having someone, and it wouldn't surprise me if when we see them again that she's maybe started to learn sign language so they can communicate.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, obviously, I'd find it hard to buy that she's fluid in 3 months, but I
Yeah,
would
I
accept.
don't know about that.
Really?
Yeah, I
Oh.
think sign language. If you're, because I have an uncle who's deaf. I think you pick it up pretty quick
I like the pause
when
in
you
there.
have
You
to.
said I have an uncle who's
Yeah,
deaf.
I have a lot of uncles, but I have one who's deaf, and I think if you don't see him for a long time, when I don't see him for a long time, I don't really use sign language. You don't think about it, but when I'm around him for a week, and it was the same thing when I was first there, when I was with him, like every day for like whatever,
Actually, I
however
mean,
long it was,
I
you
said
learn it quickly.
I just said that comparing it to learning a regular language. I have no idea how long it takes to learn
Yeah,
sign
yeah,
language.
it's more of a case of you learn out of necessity for communication. Whereas, if you're just learning a second language for the sake of it, you have the freedom. It will take longer. But if you're in that country, you'll learn it quicker.
You learn it quicker, but I don't think you'd be fluent in 3 months.
I don't know. Depends.
If I move to Germany tomorrow, I don't think I'll be fluent in German in 3 months.
I think you could.
I don't think I could. I find languages really difficult.
Yeah,
But
yeah, maybe not you, but in general, I think it's possible.
no, I mean I buy that she would at the very least have basic communication down. Like
Oh, definitely.
like I don't think there'll be an intricate conversation, but I could buy like simple things like it's time to eat, go over there, wait, simple.
Anything that she needs to know.
Yeah. Simple enough that they can communicate in like a because obviously here like they're running from bad guys and there's moments where she hears like a noise and she has to like tug the chain and be like, oh, there's something, like I hear something.
Yeah. I
Quiet.
think it's interesting that it makes them into the hunters because obviously the whole point you mentioned how at the start she was the only one talking. Obviously, Wrench doesn't talk, but the hunters weren't. They were silent as well. And now if she's communicating in sign language, it makes them the silent hunters this time.
Even the idea that we're seeing the effects of the hunt, when she's like
Yeah,
goading Emmett, like it makes sense. And this does imply that what she's seen in the photo maybe was the stamp or something like that to tell that Emmett was involved in some way.
yeah, that's the assumption here.
Yeah, so I think that makes a lot of sense. But no, this was really great. I mean, I loved the episode. I do think it would have maybe been a touch more amazing had it been the hunt for the entire thing. I get why it isn't, and I do like the second half. I like Emmett's like paranoia. I like this stuff seeding in, and I love the ending. But there was something really special about that almost silent hunt for the first half that I really really loved.
I agree. I was thinking, oh, I want this for the whole episode. But at the same time, if that's all they've got for it, I don't want them stretching it out
Oh sure,
for the sake
yeah,
of having it as a gimmick of this is that episode.
yeah. But it felt like that's what it was for a while, and I was really into it. And then I loved the like had it lasted the whole episode, and then we got to the Ray Wise bit at the end because that was a proper oh shit moment when the camera like panned out and it was him.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? And also, I mean, it makes you look back at his appearance in the episode 3, and like, because he was kind of giving advice to Glory as well, and again, he was telling these cryptic stories to try and like show her place and everything, like what her role was and the
Yeah,
thing that was unfolding.
he's definitely a guide of some sort.
Yeah, and I guess that makes him this season's UFO because he's the supernatural element, if you will.
The thing that won't be explained.
Not that I would consider UFOs supernatural per se.
No, but in the sense that they were
Yeah.
just the mystical thing that showed up and did their plot thing.
Oh, yeah,
but they
no,
weren't connected.
I'm
And they
just explaining my own phrasing. I'm not disputing what it means to the season. It's just they're not supernatural. It's science fiction. That's not supernatural. Supernatural is
Yeah.
magic and ghosts and gods.
I think it's interesting that this season was we thought, this is going to be really science fictiony because it had all the science fiction books.
Mm.
But instead, it's led into like fairy tale storytelling instead.
It has, yeah. Down to the fact that the big bad wolf was hunting them in this episode,
Exactly.
and a pig.
Well, you gotta have a pig.
Yeah. Even just that dark moment where you think they found someone hanging from a tree, but it looks up and it's just a dummy that the hunters
It's a
were.
great moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great. You just see the feet swinging, and you can't just tell from feet swinging because obviously if they're dead, they're limp anyway. So
Yeah.
the feet look convincing enough, but then they look up and it's just a dummy, and it's like, oh, I'm almost relieved that there wasn't just another needless death because so
Yeah.
much of this show is people getting killed.
It is.
Yeah, but yeah,
But they get killed in beautiful ways. So it's
they
fine.
do. That decapitation was glorious.
It really
I loved
was.
I loved it so much. No, fantastic episode. The season's really come into its own in the second half. So There we go. 2 episodes left. It's kind of weird. I would have almost expected him going to confess to be like an episode 9 ending. So it's interesting to me that we've got 2 left.
Everything seems a little bit early because it seems like we're setting up the hunt now in this coming episode. So it feels like, okay, if that's 9, what have you got for 10?
Oh, the hunt just lasts 2 episodes.
Although it could, admittedly. If not, it feels like it's earlier than I'd expect. So what else have they got if there is something after?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. So that is episode 8 of Fargo season 3. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff helps us out. You can also help us out, of course, by going over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. See a bunch of the bonuses that we've got on offer if you want to support the channel. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. But that is us, guys. So thank you once again for watching. Have you got any vanilla?